Throughout boxing's 150-year modern history, heavyweight sluggers have been looked at as a symbol of masculinity and, in some cases, as global icons that could shift the hearts and minds of the people with their Herculean greatness. Not all heavyweights are looked at as larger-than-life symbols, but as incredible athletes in their given trade. This list brings together both types of athlete. Here at GivenSport.com, we understand the delicate nature of putting together a sacred list like this. We've looked at all facets of what has made a great heavyweight boxer over the years. The ranking system is based on reign of dominance, head-to-head competition and impact on the sport. An outlier in his time, Vladimir Klitschko steadily put together a resume with numerous victories without getting drawn into slugfests. He quietly dominated the heavyweight crown for the better part of the 21st century. The former world champion had a very methodical style. If we categorize Alice's movement as a dance, then Klitschko's was more like a march. Very tall and long in stature, Klitschko used his jab effectively while also using his athletic build to engage and to not engage with fellow heavyweights. The Ukrainian was a blast from the past. With his large number of career fights and unafraid attitude to fight the best of his generation, it's crazy how underappreciated his career was. In his prime, Mike Tyson was the human war machine. Many times, Tyson would break opponents before they even stepped in the ring. Though he was way shorter than a typical heavyweight, his speed and movement pushed him to heights rarely seen in boxing. When a date was set for an Iron Mike fight, it wasn't an event. It was an execution. Because of his beautiful knife-fighting bobbing and weaving technique, he was able to close the gap and get inside to deliver vicious knockout blows to much taller foes. Tyson's highlight reel is something to truly marvel at. And while he has a win over Larry Holmes on his record, the Brooklyn native had difficulty with heavyweight elites like Evander Holyfield and Lennox Lewis. To this day, he remains a global icon, not just for his thunderous knockouts from decades prior, but because he has taken the long road towards peace and harmony. A complete 180-degree from his younger self. An Olympic bronze medalist and former world champion, Evander Holyfield was part of the changing of the heavyweight boxing guard. Larry Holmes and George Foreman bore the torch from previous greats like Ali, Liston and Frazier, that was eventually passed to Holyfield and Lewis. Holyfield was a chiseled figure who also lived the lifestyle of a full-time athlete. Unlike most fighters who tend to balloon up in between fights, Holyfield was disciplined in his nutritional habits outside of training camps. Though he was a gentle giant outside the ring, he fought with palpable vigor. With a reliant gas tank, the four-time heavyweight champion could push forward with heavy pressure to break his opponent's wills. His biggest victories included wins over Mike Tyson twice and George Foreman. The man who shook up this generation of boxing by beating Vladimir Klitschko in 2015. Tyson Fury is a jolly giant, but make no mistake, his skills and use of his 69 frame are a thing of beauty and violence. So unique in his ability to smoothly turn and move his big body around the ring, Fury is redefining the meaning of peak male physique. He's also reignited heavyweight boxing with his willingness to fight the best of the best. Read more, Tyson Fury net worth 2024 including boxing earnings. Purses projects with multiple wins over Deontay Wilder, one of the most powerful punchers in boxing history. Fury took his profile to a whole new level. His work in the ring has opened the door for today's great heavyweights to come together. The Gypsy King is also an advocate for mental health, as he forged back to greatness following a dark hiatus after his world title victory. Once a close training partner of Muhammad Ali, Larry Holmes made a great career after stepping out of the shadow of an icon. Like Klitschko, Holmes was undeniably one of the elites of his time with an astonishing number of wins. Another incredible stat that Holmes had under his belt was the whopping 19 straight title victories that took place from 1978-1985. Though Holmes and Alice's sparring sessions were now a distant memory, the Easton assassin respectfully imitated his mentor's style of jabbing on the run and elusive defensive prowess. Holmes may never fully receive his flowers as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, but his many wins and fight night intelligence were elite. His toughest tests came against a few heavyweights listed below. Not just the frontman for one of the greatest athlete testimonial campaigns in history with the widely popular Foreman grill. George Foreman was cooking his opponents for many years prior to his successful business endeavor. One half of the Rumble in the Jungle spectacle. One of the proudest moments in combat sports history, Foreman earned the respect of all from his big puncher power to winning world titles in his 40s. Foreman took off approximately 10 years from fighting to ultimately come back at the age of 38 years old to win 24 straight, with 22 of them coming by way of knockout. The preacher man now had the combination of his God-given punching power with a newfound inner peace. Amazingly, he was able to secure the WBA, WBC, and Ring World titles upon his return. The toughest grill man on planet Earth fought well into his 40s. He was eventually slowed by rising star Evander Holyfield, who showcased what the next generation of heavyweight boxers could look like. A quiet champion that resurrected black heavyweight boxing in the 1930s by his actions in the ring, Joe Louis was a boxing pioneer. A scientific boxer who was obsessed with his craft. If Louis was to lose because of a technical mistake, he would go back to the drawing board to make the necessary adjustments and come back even stronger. After losing his first career bout to German powerhouse Max Schmeling, Louis would rattle off 11 straight victories. The rematch between Schmeling and Louis was set. Louis fighting a German boxer with the next World War looming. The stage was set as the Yankee Stadium rematch seemed more than just a display of sport. The Brown Bomber won the fight decisively, beating the German powerhouse with a barrage of well-timed haymakers. Deemed the biggest fight in history up to that point. Louis-Schmeling's match ranks alongside Jack Johnson taking down Jim Jeffries aka the Great White Hope. Rocky Marciano, the only boxer on this list to finish his career with an undefeated record, fought during a time of worldly unrest. And won the crown from Joe Louis and never turned back. During these two legends' clash in 1951, Marciano was his typical self. The Massachusetts native was the quicker fighter who exhibited more lucid footwork and precise strikes. What seemed like a loose and, at times, awkward style was actually the genius of Rocky's fighting style. His relaxed nature in the heat of battle resulted in great cardio. The most frustrating critique of Louis and Marciano's position on this list would be how would they've done against today's heavyweight. Would not be applicable. Today's athlete is wiser with more knowledge of strength, conditioning, and superior diets. You can only judge a fighter in the competition that was immediately in front of them. And Marciano was perfect during his time. The United Kingdom has produced some excellent boxers over the years, and Lennox Lewis is right at the top of the list. And can be argued to be the very best. With career-defining wins over Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson, the 1988 Olympic gold medalist has beaten every man he has faced during his 14-year career. Read more, Lennox Lewis' opinion on Anthony Joshua fighting Francis Ngannou, a humble warrior. Lewis often did his talking in the ring. His confidence was something to gravitate to and countered the verbal thrashing that was Mike Tyson's style of fight promotion. At 6'5", Lewis was a gigantic heavyweight who also had great balance and a shift in weight. The West Ham native had superior patience in his fights, but could pounce like a lion on his prey when he saw an opening. The three-time world champion was classically groomed during his rise to prominence. His calm demeanor boded well for the Brit as he was thrust into the public eye following his newfound stardom. Lewis had one of the cleanest 1-2 combinations and a high boxing IQ. His resume and cerebral thinking towards the sweet science lead to a commentator position with the now extinct HBO boxing. Not just a transcending symbol for humanity, Muhammad Ali earned his stripes by facing and beating legends of the sport. Also known for his well-worded trash talk ahead of his fights, Ali was a smooth operator in many walks of life. With a gracefulness to his lateral movement and a fluidity to his punches, Ali would have little trouble with stiff heavyweight opponents. His fight against the much thicker-built Sonny Liston was a sight to behold, as the more muscular Liston charged the leaner Ali to no avail. Ali was a matador that used his adversaries' aggressiveness against them, coining the rope-dope style. Ali also had historically great battles with Joe Frazier. But his most memorable achievement in his boxing career was knocking out the powerful George Foreman, who was better known as the Rumble in the Jungle. There will never be another fighter as impactful as Muhammad Ali was. His greatness will live on forever.